All right, thank you for listening to Remake Rewind, the podcast where we decide if remakes or reboots should have happened. I'm Mike, and with me, as always, I've got Double D. How you doing, Double D?
I'm pretty good, Mike. How about yourself?
I am doing excellent. I'm ready to talk about these movies, and I'm ready for Infinity War. And I'm really excited.
Marvel month. We're doing Captain America, guys. Captain America.
If you haven't already, go back and listen to our Hulk episode. And yeah, we're really excited about Marvel Infinity War. I actually, on my way home from work today, drove by the premiere, and they had the Hollywood Boulevard shut down, and they had at one point while I was waiting at a light, they opened up the little barricade and a limo went in. So one of the big actors, was within 100 feet of me.
I hope it was Thanos.
Josh Brolin.
No, Thanos.
That's Josh Brolin.
No,
he's also Cable.
No, he's Thanos.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited about that movie, and I'm really glad that we did this one. I've actually been wanting to do these movies for a long time. Almost a year ago, we actually talked about doing these, and then we decided to hold off for some reason.
I don't know why. It's usually up to you, Mike.
Yeah, it is normally up to me, but we decided to hold off, and I'm glad we did. And we watched the Captain America movie. So there's actually 3 different versions of Captain America. There was one that came out in the 70s, but it's just a guy on a motorcycle, and he's got a motorcycle helmet. We're not counting that one. So we watched the 1990 version starring Matt Salinger, who's J.D. Salinger's son.
Yeah.
Do you know who that is, Double D?
No idea.
He wrote Catcher in the Rye.
Wow.
Well, J.D. Salinger did, not the actor.
Yeah, I figured. But that's a surprising tidbit of info there.
Yep. So we did the 1990 one. This movie was very, very hard to find. It is available on Blu-ray. They released it a couple years ago, and then this movie never had a theatrical run. It was meant to, but they didn't. And they actually ran it for a limited release when Captain America: The First Avenger came out. So that's the only time it was in theaters.
So is this a straight to VHS movie?
I honestly don't know. I think it may have been, or it might have gone to TV first. But it was meant to be a major motion picture. Stan Lee's been on record, at the time, saying oh, it's the most amazing movie. It's gonna change the superhero genre, and then it didn't come out.
Oh,
and then Ronnie Cox, aka Dick Jones, and Cohagen is in this. So this is the 3rd time we've covered a movie with him.
That's pretty cool.
He said, actually, in an interview with Retro Junk, he said, Captain America remains to this day the finest script I have ever read. How those guys messed up that film, I'll never know.
I mean, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. So, yeah, we're going to do Captain America, and why don't we just get into it?
Captain America 1990. I got a summary for you, Mike.
Do it. Summarize me, fool.
During World War II, a brave, patriotic American soldier undergoes experiments to become a new super soldier, Captain America. Racing to Germany to sabotage the rockets of Nazi baddie Red Skull, Captain America winds up frozen until the 1990s. He reawakens to find that Red Skull has changed identities and is now planning to kidnap the President of the United States.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Thank you, Michael Rabbit Hutchinson.
So, what's interesting is, Ronnie Cox said that this movie was the finest script that he ever read. I think there are bits in here that could have been good with, good special effects, good acting. There's certain aspects of it that it got a lot done in a fairly short amount of time. This movie's barely over an hour and a half. It's not that long of a movie.
95 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, it's not that long, but it got a lot in. It got his little origin. It got him frozen. It got him coming back in the modern day.
Yeah, honestly, if you, there was a couple times where I looked at my phone for, a minute or two, and it was a completely different scene. I was like, what the hell did I just miss?
Yeah, it went quick.
Super quick.
There are certain things that I do like that, because it got a lot done and bring it into the modern day and shows him that he's being the man at a time, which is, what Captain America is. So in that regards, I thought it was interesting that they were able to get so much done really quick, but it also kind of
took away from it
made him a weak character as well, because he failed his only mission.
Yeah, he also got caught by Red Skull 20 minutes into the movie. Yeah.
So the other thing that's weird about this is the Red Skull's not German. He's Italian.
Italian. They wanted him for his intelligence.
His superior intelligence.
As a child.
And so, yeah, the Nazis took him as a child, but it was an Italian scientist in an Italian village and all that. So I don't know why they wouldn't just do this in Germany.
Because there were no genius children in Germany.
Okay, but still, not just make it set in Germany. It doesn't make any sense.
I have no idea. Maybe I don't know.
They do that, like they have him, and then it's like fast forward. So it's like 1936, I think, is when it says that it started off. It's like 1936, Italy. And the beginning of the movie sorry, let me re-say that. So the beginning of the movie really confused me a lot.
Yeah. It was weird. The Italian?
Yeah, what? So I actually called you to see if you had watched it yet, because the beginning of this movie takes place in Italy, and has them speaking Italian, and then randomly it would have something with subtitles in English, but then it would go like 3 or 4 minutes in just straight Italian, and then it would have like one line of dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they spoke Italian for like 3 to 5 minutes with only 2 lines with subtitles. So I honestly thought I got like a dubbed version or the wrong version of this movie.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, so I fast forwarded through it. Like I found it on YouTube. Like I could not find the Blu-ray anywhere. Couldn't find it on like Amazon. Couldn't find it on Crackle, Vudu, anything. So I streamed this
very
on
obscure movie.
Right. So streamed this on YouTube. And so I ended up fast forwarding. And then like it was in English. And I was like, the scene that I fast forwarded to is the part where he's the first time you see him in the Captain America uniform, and he's jumping out of the plane. And he's like, "I love you, Bernie." And I was like, okay, I guess this is in English. And I went back and rewatched it, but it was really confusing.
No, it was super weird because, yeah, I agree. The first couple minutes, I was just in Italian for no reason, and there were no subtitles. I was like, oh, crap, is this just a crappy version that has no subtitles when they're speaking Italian? But then you get, like, 2 sentences, like, oh, we want him for his intelligence, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And they did it later on in the movie, too, when they go back to Italy. They're talking to these 2 families that just bought that building that they had gotten the child from, and they're talking for like 2 minutes, and they give you 2 sentences.
Yeah, it made 0 sense.
2 sentences.
Yeah, that was really weird. There's a lot of interesting choices, and then it cuts to 1942, and then like it's at like a Senate hearing, but it's just like voiceover, like it's not an actual like meeting, and they're like, we're using the super soldier serum from the escaped Italian scientists who they already have a super soldier named the Red Skull. And this thing could take a normal person or a weak person and make them the strongest, like stronger than the strongest athlete, like everything. Like they kept saying strongest athlete. And then they mentioned specifically polio. It could take somebody who's suffering from polio and turn them into like the most powerful human being. And they're like, we've already got our first volunteer. And then it just like segues to Redondo Beach. Steve Rogers in California.
Who has a gnarly limp.
Yeah, did he have a limp?
Oh, and yeah, in that original scene, he had some weird limp when he went to find Bernie or whatever her name was.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I was trying to figure out what it was. And I was like, he doesn't look like he has polio. Like, they made a point of saying polio twice. And he didn't seem that, like, messed up. I mean, his face is definitely like fucked up. He's a goofy looking dude.
Oh, can I just say Red Skull was like really scary looking.
He was kind of scary. Like it actually was pretty cool, except for the eyes. Like they didn't make the red makeup under the prosthetics match the color of the skull, but it actually was kind of a creepy
I preferred this Red Skull look over the new one.
I don't. I think the new one.
The new one hits the comic real well, but this one I felt like was scary.
It was scary. It just, but it also didn't look like a skull at all. Like it just looked a face. It kind of looks like
face.
If you're watching Raiders of the Lost Ark when they open the Covenant and like the guy whose face gets melted off, like gets melted a few layers, and then
I see that. But that's what gives it its scariness.
Yeah. But then he had like the goofiest accent.
It was definitely not Italian.
I don't know if this actor was American or what, but like.
Maybe it was Italian with a German influence.
Maybe. Well, before we get to that point, like I think we need to talk about like the transformation scene.
You mean just the electrocution?
Yeah. So, it's weird. So he has like a little thing where he's having like a going away party because he's gonna go join the military, and they make a point of saying let me say that again. So they're at his like going away party, and they're like gonna go take a picture. And he's like, "Wait, where's Bernie? I can't take a picture without Bernie."
Yeah.
And then he goes like across like a football field and into like the beach, and he's like, "Where are you, Bernie?" She's like, "I just love you, and I can't stand to not know what you're doing every moment of every day." And I'm like, that's a little creepy.
A simpler time back then.
Right. And then they go through, he leaves, he takes the photo, and then he's at like they go to this like little cafe, and they just go, and like someone just pulls like one little hanger, like coat hanger thing, and it opens up. Like, if that's a functional cafe, that's gonna happen on accident at least once. And that was really weird. So they did one of those like code phrase things where it's like somebody says one thing and the other person says a phrase. And at first I'm like, oh, they're doing a code phrase thing. And then it seemed weird. He was like, well, I'm just gonna go put my coat away. And I was like, wait, maybe they're not. And then they did the coat thing, and I'm like, oh no, it was like the acting was terrible.
Yeah, it was.
And then
I can't argue that.
They did the transformation scene, and they explain what's going on, and they say the whole polio thing again. And then they like ask what it's like really clunky exposition, like so
they had to explain why they're not explaining it.
Yeah, they're like, so the Steve Rogers guy is going to be like a national hero. They're like, well, actually, he's not. Like, what do you mean? He goes, well, nobody except for the people here in this room are going to know that he's Steve Rogers. He's going to have a code name, Captain America. And then he goes through the transformation. It's really lame.
And then the spy is like, you've done a great job. What was her name?
Heil Hitler. I don't remember.
Heil Hitler. And he shoots
her. And shoots him.
Yeah.
He gets shot like
twice
3 times immediately.
Yeah. And he's fine.
And so he like he shoots the traitor guy shoots the doctor, and then you see just like a close up of like metal bar. It's supposed to be like metal like straps holding him to the table, but it's clearly just like paper or tissue, and he just like rips through it. It's like ching, like makes a loud noise. And then he goes and gets shot like 3 times, and then it's like a hospital scene, and like the general's like talking to like a doctor. He's like, I need him out of the hospital tomorrow because we have intelligence that the Nazis are going to launch a rocket in the next 5 days. And the doctor's like, look, dude, you just got shot like 1,000,000 times. You need to chill. And then like,
then he just stands up.
Then he just stands up and he's like, General, I'm ready. I'm like, what?
How is that possible?
Right. And then it just shows him in the plane, and he's like in the Captain America suit, and they're like, man, I really like, when am I going to get more soldiers in my battalion? And they're like,
he's like, it's just you.
It's just you. The doctor didn't believe in taking notes because she felt it was safer. But she also made you this fireproof costume.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense. Why does he need a fireproof costume?
And that never came into play.
No, not at all.
Like,
I thought it was supposed to be like bulletproof or something. I was like, maybe they misspoke. But no, it's just a fireproof costume.
Yeah,
that has
like
nothing
why would
to do
they
with
not?
anything.
And then, like, I thought maybe it was gonna pay off or something, that like he was gonna like get trapped in fire or something, and that was gonna be like maybe the Red Skull locks him in a room like an incinerator, and he survives because of his fireproof costume. It never came back.
Nope.
And then they give him the shield, and he goes, "How you feel about the shield?" He's like, "I really wish I had more training. Like, easily, I need at least a month of training to get used to it."
It's I don't know, man. It was poorly explained. And then the flashy suit. They did address that the suit was super flashy, and she didn't know anything about
camouflage.
But she loved the red, white, and blue.
Yeah, I wrote that down too. So then what's really weird is, so he goes, what was it? Oh, one of the other lines I liked was he thanked the scientist for like the opportunity, and she's like, you can change your mind. This isn't Mussolini's Italy. You can change your mind anytime. And then they mention like he happened to be the best damn candidate out of 600 volunteers, and they try to make it like he's like this super great guy. So, but he immediately fucks up the mission. Like he like lands, he parachutes down, and he's like walking towards the base, and immediately like they spot him and turn a spotlight on him.
He didn't have any training.
Yeah, and then he like throws the shield, and you see it like wobbling through the air.
And you hear it too. The sound effects are great.
Yeah, but it's like I'm fine with the sound. Like they want to give it a sound, but it literally like wobbles. Like it's a plastic thing. It's not working. And then you see it like change directions to like they clearly didn't set it up. It hits like this tower and then like circles back around. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then he does some like for the 90s, like these fight scenes weren't any worse than like the Joel Schumacher Batman fight scenes. Like he's like banging his shield around and throwing guys around. Like, it was all right for like a 90s low budget movie.
Yeah, I didn't have too much of a problem with it.
But he sees the Red Skull. Oh man.
And he just gets beat up by the Red Skull.
He like throws like the shield at a bunch of barrels and they just blow up. And then like then the alarm starts going and you hear a voice that's like, "My American brother has arrived." Like I can't do the accent. Like it wasn't Italian, it wasn't German. And he like throws the shield. Red Skull catches it, throws it into the ground, and embeds it to the ground. And then he gets the shit beat out of him. Like, gets the shit beat out of him.
Yeah, that was no contest. And then he gets strapped to a rocket.
How did he get his shield back?
I have no idea.
So he gets strapped to the rocket.
Yeah, no, he didn't have it on him on the rocket.
Right, so he gets strapped to the rocket, and then the Red Skull like comes up to like kind of taunt him, and he grabs the Red Skull, and the Red Skull's like, "Stop the launch, stop the launch."
Yeah.
And then he goes and pulls a knife, like he's gonna stab Captain America.
He
and then he
chops his own hand off.
Chops his own hand off. And I'm like, what? And then he like launches, like he actually gets launched, and like a little kid sees him in like a camera at night, which there's no way he would have saw him.
The camera had super zoom on it somehow.
Yeah, and then like he saw the kid as well.
Yeah, and he kicks the wings on the rocket and somehow makes it propel in a different direction above the White House.
He barely misses the kid, and then you see him barreling towards the White House, and he starts like kicking again, and then it goes barely misses the White House, and then ends up in Alaska.
Oh man!
And did you notice the guy's ears, Captain America's ears?
No, I didn't.
Originally the costume they had like holes for the ears, but it was like this like thick plasticky thing, and it was rubbing his ears. So they ended up making a different version where his ears were inside the costume, and then they put rubber ears on the outside of the costume.
They did?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Oh man, and they tried banter. Like when he grabs the Red Skull, he says, "Two can travel for cheaply as the price," or he goes, "Two can travel cheaply as the price of one," and grabs the Red Skull. Like it just. Oh man!
It was a good classic movie.
And then they mentioned that kid calls his friend and he's like, "I saw like a guy in a red and blue costume," and he's like, "Well, it couldn't have been the Submariner or the Human Torch." And then it had like the most awkward like montage. Like
it had some. Oh, I did want to mention back when he was getting the treatment to turn into the super soldier, they were like, "He's not going to be Superman."
Yeah, they did say that. Yeah, they mentioned Superman, they mentioned the Submariner and Human Torch. And then like it does this weird montage where it shows like all these newspapers like so they do this like weird montage where you see like a newspaper on the right and it's like Cuban Missile Crisis, and then you see like I don't remember what the kid's first name was, but like Kimball wins the science fair, Kimball gets elected to something, like so every time like a major world event happens, like they have one for like the kid, right, growing up. And then he becomes president.
He's the president. The kid that get missed by the rocket.
This is like the first time that guy plays a good guy.
It really is.
At least for our podcast.
RoboCop.
And then, so what's weird is, like this movie has like a environmentally friendly, like we need to be recycling, we need to like stop like polluting, which is pretty like progressive for the early 90s. Like 1990, like I was surprised like how progressive this president was. And so they like have this like meeting that had like the general from the beginning of the movie as like an older man, or like there's a colonel and he's like an older man, and then they have like the Red Skull and like some with plastic surgery done to blend in, and then like a bunch of other world leaders like they want to assassinate him, and the Red Skull's like, "That's never worked before. We killed Kennedy, we killed so and so, we killed Martin Luther King, and that didn't work. So we're going to like implant his brain and so we can control him." So that's like the whole plot of the movie, is they want to control the president, right?
Yeah.
And then it just so happens that Captain America gets found and thawed at the same time.
Just so happens.
And how did they find? So like we've been talking
his
about this
hand
movie for
was
a little
just
bit.
Sticking out.
Like, so I think we should just kind of like move a little bit quicker on this. But like, how did they find him? So quickly.
There was some expedition out there, and his
no,
was
I mean like
out.
once they like he thawed out and he was like roaming Canada.
Oh, you mean that? How? Okay, I have no idea. He just had a map, and apparently he had a marker for where Captain America was on the map.
So they the expedition people take like a picture of him, and the president still has the picture that he took as a kid in his wallet. And he calls his friend, who's now like the editor of a newspaper, and is like, hey, that guy, here he is. And so the newspaper guy just drives to like Canada. And then like at the same time, the Red Skull sends his daughter, and they both find him at the exact same time.
Is that who that is? That's his daughter?
Yeah, it's his daughter.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
This movie moved way too fast for me.
How the hell did they find him in Canada?
I don't know. In the woods.
Alaska, there's no way.
In the woods, like, they found him.
So like the daughter on a motorcycle comes and he like throws the shield. But like, how did he get the shield back? Like, why would they give him the shield back and then strap him to the rocket?
For dramatic effect.
Right, so that doesn't make any sense. So somehow he got the shield back, and he like throws it at the girl on their motorcycle, and she goes flying off. Like, that should have killed her.
He hits her in the face.
That should have killed her.
She's driving at least 60 miles per hour downhill. He hits her in the face with a shield.
Yeah, and she flies off the bike.
Yeah, she definitely should have had her head decapitated.
Right, and then like they start shooting. He gets shot again in this scene, and then he like gets in the car with the newspaper guy because he happens to drive by. And, like, it just skips forward, and he goes, presumably he's talking about, like, that hey, you know, you're in 1990 now. And then, but they don't show any of this. All it shows is, like, hey, I could be lying to you. You know, I could be a Nazi spy, but why would I be asking about my own side?
Yeah.
You just gotta believe me.
And then he's seeing all this stuff in the car. It's like made in West Germany, made in Japan.
Right. So he's like, oh, my God. And so he goes, I'm going to be sick. Stop the car. Stop the car. I'm going to be sick.
So stupid.
He does like the derpiest voice. And then he gets out. And so the reporter guy's like, are you okay? And he just like literally like runs back in the car and ditches the guy.
And takes off with his car.
He does it twice.
Twice
he does it to the girl too.
Yeah, to Bernie's daughter.
Yeah, so eventually he makes it to California. Basically gets Bernie and her husband and the reporter killed.
Can we talk about the husband and how like understanding he was of this whole situation?
Any shits?
Yeah. He barely. So he didn't say a word till after he got shot. Right.
Right.
Yeah. What the hell was that?
Yeah. So then, like the daughter looks exactly like her, but with blonde hair.
Yeah.
It's the same actress.
It's the same actress. Yeah. I was gonna say.
Oh man! But there's like a montage of him like sleeping and seeing Bernie like in like flashbacks as he's like in a train car, and like it had the most like ridiculous song. Like I wrote down some of the lyrics, but it was just like I'm seeing memories of you, girl, and like it's just like all that like I'm a stranger in my own town now. Like it was almost like a South Park song explaining what was going on. It was so bad.
But it makes it so good.
And then, oh man, like it just like from this point, like they die. Like the Bernie, her husband, the reporter guy dies because the skull tells the daughter to just follow the reporter, and the reporter somehow finds like the top secret file and leads them directly to them. And then,
he found a letter from Bernie.
Yeah, and then they go to like the cafe again because so they find out, they're like, oh, we need to find out who the Red Skull is. Like they find out that he's still alive because the reporter says, hey, the Red Skull's still around, but he's using his old name. Like, how do they know that if they don't know what the name is? But they're like, the Red Skull's still around, but he's using the name he had before he was the Red Skull.
And we never found out
who it is. And so they go back to the lab to go find the doctor's journal because she might know the name. Why was that still in the lab? You think the government would have cleaned everything out.
Yeah, and also she wasn't supposed to have taken any notes.
Right. Why would she have that? So
she had a diary. It was a diary.
She goes, I never knew his name, but it was a town in Italy, and she names the town. So they go to Italy, and the thing is, like, as soon as they get to Italy, he tries that same trick that I'm going to be sick in the car, and gets her to leave. And then like she follows him. Like she immediately goes and gets herself captured to buy him time somehow. Like I don't know how that was supposed to work.
I don't know.
And like there's a couple action beats in this movie between that. Like so like when they're in the cafe, like these bad guys come, and there's like an Asian guy who kind of like is doing pretty good. He ends up like ripping the end of a pipe off and using it as a shield.
Oh, yeah,
but, like, he throws it at one point. This is one of my notes. He goes, sees a pipe, rips off the end, uses it as a shield, hits a few people. They all go flying, throws it at a guy who has a gun, the hand just dropped, like the gun just drops. There's no way that guy didn't break his goddamn hand.
And then he punches that guy and says, "For Bernie."
For Bernie. And then like the Asian guy's doing like, actually holding his own. And then he like grabs the guy and is like,
just
tell me about the
vent
skull. And he's like, I don't know anything about him. And then he just throws him in like a bottomless pit. Like, what?
This made total sense.
Yeah. And then, so they go back to Italy. He goes and like he ditches the girl, but like the girl knows where they're going. So she goes to the house and meets them there and like speaks Italian to the people.
Speaks Italian.
And then like they go on, like there's like a motorcycle car chase, and then like they're on a bike, and then they like ride the bike into the ocean, and like the bad guys are just like, oh, they're gone.
Yeah, we'll never find them in the ocean.
But then they randomly find them out in a field.
But the ocean is expensive.
Right. Then she like, I don't know. So then it's like he goes into like the stronghold, and like the president breaks himself out, and so him and the president are fighting a bunch of like Nazis, and then there's a moment where you think that the Red Skull's gonna flip and like not be a bad guy, because he like gives this like speech about like, hey, you know, things are better, and like you can't just blow up all, like he was gonna blow up all of Europe somehow.
Yeah.
And he like has this like speech, and he like talks about like he gets his ass kicked again, he gets shot again, he gets shot a bunch more times, and he like fights him with the machine gun, and then like he ends up throwing the shield, and it hits the Red Skull in the chest as he's like playing piano. The piano's gonna set off the bomb. But he plays that's what he does. He plays the recording of the kid playing piano when he was abducted. And like Red Skull looks kind of like sad, and he's like, you think he's gonna be a good guy again, because he realized like the Germans fucked him, like basically. Yeah. And then he goes flying into the ocean, but then the shield turns around and hits the daughter in the head.
It's the daughter.
And he says something like, heads
up.
Or
something like that. Yeah.
But then how did he stop the detonator?
I don't know.
Like,
that's what I was thinking too. Like, I don't really know how the detonator worked, because it had 1, 2, 3 armed on it. There were no lights, and there were just the buttons coming up out of it.
Yeah. But then the movie just like ends. Like, so like it has like a
I don't
news
think
report.
so.
Yeah, it has like a news report, and like the president says like, we're with you, Captain America, and like whatever that means. And then like it shows him like doing like a thumbs up, and then it fades to like a cartoon version of him.
Yeah, but I just wanted to touch on the fight with the Red Skull with Captain America at the end there. He gets his shield thrown to him by Ronnie Cox, who's the president, right?
Yeah.
And then he takes the time to stop and look at the president, give him a thumbs up, and says, "Thanks, Mr. President."
Yeah. Well, then he does this thing where like the Red Skull shoots a machine gun at him, so he like lays down on his stomach, and then he like holds the shield, and he like rolls around.
That was interesting.
And the shield does some weird things where like he throws it again to like collapse like a hallway on like a bunch of bad guys, but
he
it does
threw
the same thing
past those guys, and somehow the bricks above them fell.
Yeah, just shatter. But like the whole time, like this thing, like it's super like clearly they just had somebody like, because you never saw the whole shield for the most part when it was in the air, so clearly somebody was just holding it outside of frame, going like shaking it around a little bit.
Oh man,
it was really dumb.
Good effects.
So like there's certain things that I liked about the movie. Like I liked the aspect of having him out of time, like he froze and then came back, but I really wish he succeeded in the mission. Like he stopped.
You wish he wasn't as lame as he was in the beginning.
Yeah, he was super lame, and like he was lame throughout the movie. He got defeated constantly. Like he wasn't that much better than normal humans. Like he did some flippy
he's no
flips.
Superman.
And like the thing is, like he didn't. So at one point they considered using like different actors for the pre and post like transformation, and then they decided against it. They're like, we'll just get an actor who's good enough to be both. And like this guy was not good.
No,
he had like he had a really weird voice. He was not a good looking dude. Like you don't look at him and go, that's the perfect person.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, it was an enjoyable movie though.
It was fun to watch. Like, it was really bad.
I would put this on the same level as Commando.
Yeah, like, well, no, Commando's way better. Like,
no, I mean, like, it was really stupid, but fun to watch.
Yeah. What did you think about, I mean, obviously, obviously this Steve Rogers was kind of lame and kind of derpy and just, like, he was kind of a lame character. He was so unsure of himself the entire time.
From beginning to end, he never changed,
and he couldn't do anything on his own. Like he had to have somebody helping him every step of the way.
Yeah, he was like the loser version of John Wayne.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about on this one?
I wanted to talk about how he started to fall in love with Sharon.
Yeah, that's weird.
That is weird. If you were somehow frozen, Mike, and Katrina got married to someone else and had children, would you fall in love with Katrina's daughter?
No, that's weird.
Shh. Yeah, I agree. That's totally weird.
Yeah.
Dialogue.
The other thing I liked was like, why would they have this guy be the person that they picked? Like, he was like 30 something when they picked him. Like, why would you not pick a younger person?
He was a volunteer.
I know. Like, how is he?
I guess they were going to make more, right?
Right.
I don't know. Maybe
Eventually,
he was very intelligent, but the doctor died.
Yeah.
Only thing.
Yeah, the other thing that I thought was weird about this movie is like the sound mixing was really bad. Like at the beginning when the kid's playing the piano when he gets abducted, like the piano's really fucking loud, and then like the glass breaks and it sounds like the loudest thing I've ever heard. Like I was like, holy shit, this is loud. Like the mixing was awful. And then
it's
just not a
scene
good
jumping
movie,
too,
but
with the music was weird.
Yeah, it was really weird. There's a bunch of like really corny, like I swear to God, the guy like Trey Parker and Matt Stone did the music to this movie. Like it's so corny and like narrates what's going on the screen. And then, did you know who they almost cast in this movie?
Who?
So they wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger, but they didn't want him with the accent. They're like, it can't be you need to have an American accent for it, which I get. Like I appreciate. Dolph Lundgren wanted it. But he was busy doing the Punisher.
Dolph has a weird accent too, though.
Yeah, right. But he was doing the Punisher at the time, so he couldn't do it. Which would have been weird if he was the Punisher and Captain America.
Well, I mean, they weren't doing a whole cinematic universe back then,
That's true.
It's not too weird.
That's true. I mean, yeah. I mean, technically, the next Captain America was the Human Torch, so whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's a good enough segue to move in to the
talking about the Human Torch now. Just kidding.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Captain America, 2011, The First Avenger. I got a little brief one here because I don't want to read these long ones. Steve Rogers, a rejected military soldier, transforms into Captain America after taking a dose of a super soldier serum. But being Captain America comes at a price as he attempts to take down a warmonger and a terrorist organization.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty concise there. Hydra.
So I'm sure you've seen this one already, but
yes.
Like, what were your, going into this one, like watching it again, what were your expectations and what did you think going in?
Honestly, I remember liking the movie. I thought it was cheesy the first time I watched it, but watching it again this time, I actually enjoyed it a lot more. I think it's because I had lower expectations of it.
So the thing that's interesting for me with these movies is, like, I'm a huge Marvel guy. Like, I love these movies. I own all of them. When I saw this one, same thing. Like, I thought Thor was better at the time and Iron Man was better at the time. And, like, the Phase 1 movies, I actually thought this was the weakest of the Phase 1 movies.
Yeah.
But after Winter Soldier came out, which Winter Soldier and Civil War are my two favorite Marvel movies. I think those are the best ones. I've actually found that I only really go back through and watch the Captain America movies. Like, periodically I'll watch one of the other ones. Like, I just rewatched Iron Man like a month ago.
I've seen Iron Man the most, I think.
I saw Iron Man like 5 times in theaters. But this one, I watch this one at least every year. Like, I used to really like Thor. I think Thor was my favorite, like, first wave, not first wave,
first run, whatever.
No, why can't I think of the Phase 1? The first of the Phase 1 movies that I actually really, really liked besides Iron Man. Like, I kind of kept Iron Man as its own thing. But I've actually found that over time, over the last, 8 years or 7 years, that this one it's so much different than any of the other Marvel movies.
It is.
Like, it is drastically different. And I actually appreciate that a lot more now. So, like, I'd say after post Avengers, like when the first Avengers came out, I went through and rewatched all the movies. And after rewatching them, I actually realized I like this one better than Thor. I don't necessarily think I like it better than Iron Man, but I if I had to choose between rewatching one, I'd probably watch this one again.
Well, yeah, I think this one has a different vibe to it because the other movies have their comedy vibes to it, and this one is just a good, wholesome fun.
Yeah, it totally has that, like, the better days, quote unquote, kind of feeling, and it has some great action, and it's different, and it's kind of like how we're going back through and doing Like Thor Ragnarok is completely different than any of the other Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And Black Panther was a little bit different. Black Panther I don't think was as different as a lot of people think. Like it was him fighting like the same version of himself kind of thing. But this movie, even though it fit that mold of, oh, the bad guy is just a bad version of the good guy, this being a period piece and having that World War II thing and having him go on other missions, like this one was probably the most action-packed of the Phase 1 movies besides the
It was
Avengers.
really cool. I mean, I really like the fact that he was his own character. Like, in the other movie, they just sent him into something, whereas for this one, he's going to save these people because that's how good of a person he is.
Well, and that's why you see why they selected him to be the super soldier, because he is not a strong man, but a good man.
Right, exactly.
And like you get to know him. Like I think out of all the Phase 1 movies, like I think this is the one where you really get to know the character the most. Like I feel like Thor, you really got to know over the course of several movies.
Yeah, even including the Avengers.
Right. Iron Man, you got a pretty good idea of who he was, but he fundamentally changed who he was in that movie, and he keep build. But like Steve Rogers, you got in this first movie. Like you knew what you were getting, and like by the time Captain America, like by the time Avengers came around, you could understand why everyone held him in such high regard. Yeah, because he was a national treasure and a national hero, and I get why. But I really did like having this as a period piece, and like I remember at the time, like I was like, oh, they should bring it out in the real, like the modern day. But I actually really appreciate now that it was more or less a period movie
because it sets the tone.
Yeah. But yeah, I had a lot of fun rewatching this movie.
Yeah, it was actually really fun to watch. It was a lot more killy than I remember, though.
Yeah, he killed hell of fools.
He did. Just using guns left and right.
One of the fond memories I have of this movie, though, is the first time I saw the trailer, and you see the Red Skull in the first trailer you see the Red Skull in the part where he like pulls out that mask when Captain America meets him the first time, and like when the factory is getting burned down.
Yeah,
you see that in the trailer. He looks exactly like Kevin Bacon right there. And so at the time in 2011, iCanHasCheeseburger.com was a big thing, and they had like totally looks like, where you would like put celebrities look like different things. So Katrina actually made a Kevin Bacon totally looks like the Red Skull, and it trended on that website for a while, which we were really proud of that we made that. But yeah, Katrina, I said it, and then Katrina made that, and I was really proud of her for like photoshopping that together real quick and putting it up there like the day the trailer came out. But yeah, like there's certain things that I really love about this movie. Like I thought the action was great. That montage in the beginning, or like when he first like becomes Captain America after he like saves the day the first time, but then they just have him being like the poster boy.
Yeah,
and I love that progression of him getting more confident.
Yeah, where he's reading all the lines in the beginning, and then he doesn't have to.
And then he gets made fun of by the soldiers.
Yeah, and he just runs off stage to get the girls.
Yeah, I can see if I can get him back, and he's like super awkward. And then the montage after he gets like the legit costume, and like it just shows him going on a ton of missions. Like I thought that was a really awesome segment. He just shows him like killing a bunch of Nazis and Hydra agents.
Yeah, just going in with a shield and a pistol.
Yeah, and like him, like when he's like going through the forest and he just like raises a hand and he just like throws the shield into the tree and a soldier just falls out of the tree, like stuff like that. Like I think they did a really great job of like demonstrating what he can do. And like I thought the Red Skull was great. Like I think they nailed the character.
The Red Skull?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. With the Hail Hydra and just getting away from the Nazi regime and everything like that.
Yeah, totally. And I love all the stuff they did, like little nods that like I didn't know. Like there was something that I noticed this time around that I've never noticed. But like, so you know the little scientist guy that's working for the Red Skull?
Yeah, the one that was he was in Green Lantern, right?
I don't remember if he was in Green Lantern. I don't know.
I feel like he was. I'm gonna look it up now, but keep going.
He is in the Winter Soldier, and he's like in the computer. Like they computerized him because like Hydra wanted to keep him around, right?
Yep.
So there's a point when you first introduce that character, and he's in the lab. You see him through like a little like a telescope thing, and it's like staticky. Because in the comic books, he's like literally in like a robot body, and his face is like a CRT like tube TV screen. And I never noticed that until like this time around for some reason. So like, I like all these little things that they did. Tommy Lee Jones being in this movie is fantastic. I thought Hugo Weaving was great. Haley Atwell. Like, there's so many. Stanley Tucci. Like the
Stanley
casting in this
Tucci was
movie is great. Like Stanley Tucci as Ernstein, the scientist, he was great. I loved his interactions, and I think he was the perfect way of like conveying what the audience needed to know. Like, if you're evil, the super soldier serum will make you evil. And that kind of fits in with Abomination. Like, he saw himself as a monster, so he became a monster when he got more of it. Where this one, like, he's like, you're a good person, so you're going to become strong and be even better. And, like, it's just the way he was basically the exposition machine, but it wasn't clunky.
Yeah.
So, I really liked all of this. But I did have a few problems with the movie. But I want to let you talk
There were
about
some stupid parts. I mean, no, I don't have anything specific to point out. I mean, like, it was a lot of fun. I don't know why they didn't start using the alien or the Tesseract weapons once they started having them.
Right. Yeah, why didn't the good guys use them? Because they they could
stole
have
a bunch
kept some
of them
from when they got broken out. Yeah,
But-
that's weird that they didn't use them. Well, maybe there's like battery chargers and they didn't have enough for them. Like, you have to reload them or something. That's the only thing I think. But you think that they would be like stealing them as they go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they seized the whole fucking place, right? I
Right.
don't know.
So one of the issues I had with this movie, and it's kind of so like this, I love this scene. I think it's a great scene. So they go downstairs to like from the little antique shop and they do the transformation thing. They're gonna stop it because he's like screaming. He's like, "No, I can do it.
No, I
Don't
can
stop.
handle
Just
it,
let go."
yeah.
And Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter. Like, this was an outtake. Like, this wasn't planned. Like, she almost ruined the scene. She almost broke, but she was able to, like, when she saw him, like, she hadn't seen him shirtless or anything like that. It was the first take. She, like, reached out and touches his chest, right?
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, he looks fucking fantastic.
Yep.
Like, he's
Chris
fucking,
Evans.
he's a foot.
He's yoked.
He's a good looking dude. So,
I'm not jealous.
I'm not jealous, man. That is, I mean, we are lucky to live on the same planet and breathe the same oxygen as this god of a man.
He's way better now as Captain America than he was Human Torch.
Yeah, I agree. But anyway, so like the same thing, Hail Hitler, the Hydra agent, like comes through and like takes over and kills a bunch of people. That is a room full of army people, generals, and then there was that old lady who's guarding the place, had a Tommy gun, and this guy like shoots just a couple people. He's able to walk out. The woman is waiting upstairs with a machine gun and is able to take him out before he shoots her.
Oh, he
So, like-
shoots her in the shoulder and she like falls over. I need life alert. Like, it was terrible.
So like that was a little lame.
Yeah.
And
But then he runs him down on foot.
I loved that scene though, how like he's never been strong or fast, so he can't quite control himself. So he like takes a turn or two fast and he falls into a window.
Store. Yeah. My favorite part was that kid.
Yeah.
He gets thrown in the. I can swim. Go get him.
Go get him, mister.
That's
great. Yeah, it's pretty good. I also like the end. Like, I think Tommy Lee Jones was great as like the general who didn't want him.
Yeah.
And like the whole time he was like, I let you bring this like 90-pound asthmatic kid, you know, because I figured I'd humor you, but I never thought you'd pick him. And he like throws the grenade.
Yeah, you can't teach guts or something like that.
Yeah,
and he throws
like,
the grenade.
Jumps on. He's still skinny.
Yeah.
But I also like how they set up that like one, he's brave and he's willing to sacrifice himself, like he's a legitimately good person. But then they also show that he's smart, like. In the comic
flag
books,
part.
the reason, yeah, exactly. He's like a brilliant tactician, everything like that. Yeah, he takes stuff. He pulls like a Mulan and like goes around a different way, and like pulls the pin so the flag pole stops and he takes the flag, and like it shows, hey, he thinks outside the box. Like, I think this movie perfectly set up why this guy is such a good like fighter and strategist and everything like that. Like, I think they did a really good job with this character. Like, in retrospect, I think this is actually one of the strongest Marvel movies.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Stanley Tucci, as the doctor, was saying that it amplifies everything inside of you. So I'm sure his smarts were amplified as well.
Yeah, I agree. And like, I just love, like, there's another thing that they did that I really like. So the scene where you think Bucky dies, they're on the train, right? And Bucky's getting pinned down by one of these heavy soldiers, and he's like about to die. And then Captain America comes in and he like does a little like hand wavy thing. So he like literally rams a shelf, and the guy's between two shelves. So the guy has to jump out between the shelves or he's gonna get crushed. And then like Bucky just comes out and shoots him in the head, kind of thing.
Oh,
like,
well.
like I love the little interactions he had with this team. like I just think like the action was really well done.
It was a great movie.
Yeah, and like I think a big part of like why it got like the good nostalgia vibe is Joe Johnston, the director, also did the Rocketeer, which took place in the same time period, and World War II, fighting Nazis and stuff like that. So I think Joe Johnston did a phenomenal job on this movie. The only other thing that's kind of lame is at the end how he had to crash the ship, and I had to look it up. I'm like, why did he have to crash the ship? But it's actually because the autopilot was engaged and the controls got destroyed, so he could barely control it a little bit.
But
so okay.
the Tesseract fell out too, right? And that's what was powering the ship.
No, I don't think that was powering the ship because the Tesseract was there with him, wasn't it? When he got uncovered,
it like burned through.
Did
Remember, it burned through the bottom of the ship and fell into something.
So when did Nick Fury get it?
I don't know. Amy was trying to ask me, like, how did it show up in Asgard? And I was like, I have no clue.
Asgard, so what happened is, I can answer part of that. So, at the beginning of the Avengers, Loki comes into a facility and steals it from Nick Fury. And then at the end of Avengers, Iron Man, Thor, and Nick Fury agree that the Tesseract shouldn't be on Earth and it's safer in Asgard. So at the end of Avengers, he takes Loki and the Tesseract up to Asgard.
Okay.
So that's how it got to Asgard.
Don't know how it got to Nick Fury.
Yeah, I'm not sure when he got it.
Might have to watch the rest of the Marvel movies again.
They must have recovered it at some other point, but just didn't really know how to use it.
Probably. Well, that's what they were doing, right? When they somehow brought Loki to Earth, trying to figure out how to use it.
Yeah, that's what they were doing. Because at the end of Thor, I do remember this. So at the end of Thor, the post-credit scene of Thor is Nick Fury is talking to the scientist guy, and he's like, "Oh, I've got this," and then he goes and like he's like, "I want you to work on it." So I guess they must have found it sometime between, but they didn't know how to use it. Like they didn't realize it was like maybe it got reactivated when Thor and Loki came to Earth, and that's how Nick Fury realized like they needed somebody who had expertise on it. I don't know, but yeah, Nick Fury had it, and he went and got the older scientist dude from Thor to take care of it.
Got it.
Anything else you want to discuss on this movie?
Go watch this movie.
It's a fun movie.
If you've never seen this movie, I'm disappointed in you.
Like, I definitely think this is one of the movies that, like, there's just so many good action scenes in this movie. Like when he goes and like stops that submarine and he punches through and he like leaps through the water. When he, like, and his interaction, like his chemistry he has with Haley Atwell is fantastic. Like,
it is really good.
Like how he has and it's like clear she likes him even when he was skinny, but was like being professional, and like he has her little picture, and like there's a scene in like when like they have like news footage of him and he's got like his little locket with a picture of her, and like she's in the briefing and she's kind of like embarrassed.
She smiles.
Do
you guys
the whole fondue thing? That was great. Natalie Dormer was in this movie.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, she kisses him like in behalf of all the wives and mothers and sisters. We thank
and then gets caught by Haley Atwell.
Yeah, and it was like genuinely like he was earnest and genuinely just seemed like a good. Like I didn't feel like it was an act. Like I legitimately believed this character.
Well, yeah, because they set it up well, I think.
Yeah, I think they did a really great job, and like the things that, like Katrina loves the Captain America movies. Like I think her favorite movies are the Civil War and Winter Soldier. I think those two are my favorite movies, hand down, of all 18 movies that are currently out. Winter Soldier and Civil War are my two favorite movies.
So are they going to do a standalone Bucky movie?
I mean, we really don't know. Like, we've got Infinity War coming out. I've got some theories. I do think that Cap is going to die and Bucky is going to take the mantle because...
Oh, man.
His contract, Chris Evans, is technically done after Infinity War Part 1 and well, it's not Part 2. Whatever the next Avengers movie is called.
Well, all the rumors say 2 or more are going to die, right?
Right. But Sebastian Stan signed on for like 9 movies.
Oh.
So he still has more on his contract. So it's now, granted, some of them could like be signed on for more than they're really doing to do stuff. But I think he will still be around, whether it's as Captain America or White Wolf, who we don't know. But I do think he'll still be around. I really don't know what to expect. I'm still holding out hope that we'll actually get a black suit Spider-Man because they did motion cap.
That'd be so cool.
but I really don't know what to expect. This movie is one of the few that I've gone in like not wanting to know spoilers. Like I haven't looked at any of the clips. I've only watched the trailers. I want to go into this movie completely fresh. Like I don't want to know anything about this movie. So I'm really excited for Infinity War. I'm really excited to see what happens. I'm kind of bummed that like pretty much we know Robert Downey Jr. is going to be going away. We know Captain America is going to be going away for at least a little bit. So, like, it is the end of an era. Like, this is kind of a big deal.
Oh, man. Well, we'll see how it goes.
So, we got to answer the question. Was this a remake that needed to happen?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. I mean, don't get me wrong. I liked the first movie.
It was a fun movie to watch.
It was bad in some ways, sure. But, yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch.
They had a couple Game of Thrones people in it. Walter Frye was in it, too, at the beginning of the movie.
I don't
Natalie
remember. Dormer, yes. I don't remember.
Yep. Pretty good. Yeah, I really liked this movie. I had a great time watching it the entire way through. Like you said, just watch this movie. Like, if I had to pick, like, I think, we can maybe go through this really quickly, like, the movies. Like, if you had to just pick a couple movies, like, hey, I've got, like, a few days, I want to watch 1 or 2 movies a day to get ready for Infinity War, which ones would you pick? Like, I feel like this was one that you definitely want to watch.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I would probably watch all the Origins movies.
I mean, at this point, there's too many of them. I feel like you watch this one.
Iron Man.
I think you watch the first Iron Man to get to set it off.
Spider-Man.
I think you have to watch this one. I think you have to watch Avengers. I think you have to watch Guardians of the Galaxy because that brings up the whole cosmic side and like
Civil
really gets
War.
into details. And I think Civil War is really important because it shows like the divide because like they're still divided right now.
Yep. Yeah.
And like that's the intro of Spider-Man. It's the intro of Black Panther. Like if you don't watch their solo movies, you still get a kind of a feeling of who they are.
Yeah, exactly.
What they team are. So I feel like if you could only watch 3 or 4 movies before Infinity War, it's I think this one, Iron Man, I think
Civil
the
War.
first Avengers, and I think Civil War and Guardians of the Galaxy. I think those are your essential movies to get ready.
You get some of everybody.
Yeah. But I'm really excited. I'm glad we did a Marvel month.
Yeah, that was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. Like, other than watching the 2003 Hulk, I had a lot of fun watching these movies. I actually really enjoyed watching the 2008 Hulk again. If you haven't already listened to that episode, it was a fun episode. And yeah, that's it. That's all I've got.
Yeah, so if you're planning to go watch Infinity War, watch Captain America first. So just in case he dies, you remember what he's about.
Yeah. America. Book. Yeah. Oh, that's another one of my favorite things about this movie is they took that song from Team America and they synced it with the trailer for this movie and it fits perfectly. Like it fits perfectly. Like look it up. Look it up when we're done recording. Look it up.
I'm checking it out.
So anyway, thank you guys for listening. You guys can check out everything that's MDXpods related at MDXpods.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at MDXpods. We're on that weird Vero app. Don't worry about it. Nobody's on it. You can support the show at patreon.com. We're also always sponsored by Audible. So if you want a free book, go to audibletrial.com/MDXpods. And please check out our other show, Ruin My Childhood with me and Katrina. It's great. We just hit our anniversary and we did 2 anniversary special episodes. So check that out. But that's it. Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Later.
Bye.